Em, can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast. Saying that you aren't a micromanager is not an acceptable answer. Because do we think that micromanagers are ever going to admit they're micromanagers? No, that's not credible just saying, oh, I don't do it that way. Sure you don't. Come on. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks and behind the scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey Em, and welcome back everyone. Who is getting an Interview Boss Shoot Your Shot shout out this week?
Sabrina, who bought us 3 coffees and sent us this message. Sarah and Emma, hello from California, and I'm excited to finally have a success story to share. I cannot express how grateful I am for all of your advice and support. It's been a lifeline in my job search. I'm a career pivoter who decided to switch to design in the middle of applying to medical school. As a nervous, introvert type of person, I've always struggled at interviewing and would go into fight or flight mode at every interview. We've all been there. I was able to avoid this issue for the most part because I interned at the same lab every summer in college, so I never really had to interview. As a result, I also never improved my interview skills or overcame this extreme interview anxiety. While interviewing for my first design job, I wrote out scripts and read them word for word because it was the only way I could answer the questions at the time. Somehow I got the job due to my portfolio and genuine passion for the company, but my manager later joked that I was like a robot and almost seemed like I was reading from a script. Spoiler alert, I was. After 2 years and management changes, I was laid off after being gaslit into thinking I was incompetent, too young, and needed a design degree to deserve a place in the field. That sounds awful.
This is a roller coaster.
Although tech mass layoffs are common nowadays, I was the only person who got laid off from my company, and I felt immense shame and self-doubt for it. After meeting with mentors and getting honest feedback, I realised that I do have what it takes and I am worthy of the job I want. Of course you are. However, being dumped into the current tech job market was terrifying, and although I managed to land interviews, many companies had intense interview processes that I completely fumbled. Finding this podcast was a godsend, and I spent several days binging episodes. The podcast became like a best friend to me during these interviews. I listened before and after every interview and laughed at the offbeat sniffs every time. This is the second or third mention of the sniffs that we've had in the last couple of weeks. It's trending again. The sniffs are trending.
It's the sister vibes of the bickering of like, oh, why didn't you do it right?
Yeah, sniffs made me laugh every time while I was waiting to hear back, after rejection and everything in between. Before every interview, I walked to my mirror and said, "You are the shit," in an Australian accent. I'm happy to say that I started leaving interviews feeling like I killed it and was finally able to let my personality and thinking process shine through during interviews instead of being a nervous wreck. Thank you again for all that you do.
Oh my God. I loved reading this one when it first came in because I think it really felt like the way that we helped her was, yeah, sure, some of it in like how to tell stories and whatever, but it was actually a lot of it about just like hanging in there and the confidence and, you know, the not freaking out and being by her side the whole time. Like, I love that. I don't think I ever expected that that was going to be such a big part of this podcast when we started it. Like, I think I knew people needed moral support a little bit, but like, people say sometimes that's the most important part. The ones that she's mentioning before every interview, after, and in between while you're waiting to hear back.
Yeah, that's not hard-hitting advice. That's just like, hey, we're your friends, we're here.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I also think that there's something really cool about people listening to all these shoot your shots and being like, oh, maybe that'll be me one day. And then one day being like, I get to send the thing in and like buy the coffee and say, you know, my story. It's incredible. It's like,
it's a little treat.
Yeah, it's the full circle moment. Maybe if you're listening to this, one day you'll be like Sabrina and you'll be able to send one in.
I am putting the call out. I'd like everyone, all the American listeners, to send me you saying I am the shit in an Australian accent, because I'd love to know what that hears like. I'd love to know what that sounds like with an American accent impersonating us Aussies.
I'm like, how do you say you are the shit in an Australian accent? I mean, I guess I just did, but
yeah, but it's so much easier to do an American accent. Like,
how would you say it in an American accent?
Like, yeah, you are the shit. Is that
really
good?
I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to try. That was excellent.
Thank you.
If you want results like Sabrina and you need a little bit more help than just a bit of a confidence boost, you can check out my one-on-one coaching sessions or our wonderful interview academy that is coaching on demand times 10. You can check out all about it at interviewboss.com.au/coaching and see if it might be right for you or not.
As always, if you would like to request an episode or tell us about your sticky situation, please follow us on Instagram and you can slide into our DMs and we'll try and get back to you, and we'll also try and dedicate a whole episode to the conundrum, because chances are if you're experiencing it, a lot of other people probably are too.
And it goes onto our list of like episodes we need to make. And I'm pretty sure this one came from a request about asking a question, what's your management style? It was a little while ago though, so I've lost who actually suggested it. But shout out if that was you. Probably they've landed a job by now and they're not listening. But I think this is where this episode came from.
So we are going to be talking about management styles and all the different types, how your managers might slot into this, if you're a manager yourself, how to identify what kind of manager you are.
And I think this is that interview question that comes up, what is your management style? We're kind of answering that, but you also might find this episode helpful if you get a question like, how do you like to be managed, or what kind of managers do you work best under, that kind of thing as well. Like, you might find this really helpful for that.
Or even to self-reflect if you've left a job because you didn't like the manager and the way they did things, being able to have a formal way to group that to then in future interviews kind of explain that, like, oh, you know, the management style was very this, but I actually found I really prefer this.
So true. Now, disclaimer at the beginning, they are not looking, when they ask you this type of question and when we're talking about this kind of stuff, there are management styles that have names, but they're really not looking for you to define your style like picking one from a list. Like, it's not like the question saying what kind of music do you listen to, and you can say categories of music or whatever. They're asking you to describe the management style that you have or how you go about it or whatever. So picking one to be like, oh, my management style is blah, and then finishing there, they'd be like, what do you mean by that? Nobody knows what these management styles, like if you're sitting at home being like, I couldn't even name one, I just really don't think that these are common knowledge or commonly used in the corporate world whatsoever. So you might be familiar with them. Listening out there, that's great. But this episode is going to be all about describing them, helping you come up with words and come up with your own description for your management style. There's not really a dedicated list of like these 5 things. Every manager fits into these categories.
Great. So also important to note, saying that you aren't a micromanager is not an acceptable answer, because do we think that micromanagers are ever going to admit they're micromanagers? No, you look like that's not credible just saying, oh, I don't do it that way. Sure you don't. Come on, not even the worst know that they are.
And I think this comes from people panicking and they're like, what's your management style? And they think that they need to label like, I'm a blah kind of manager, and the only one they know is micromanager. And they're like, well, I'm not one of those.
We can rule that out.
And they're trying to be like, is there an authoritative, they're trying to remember all the words. You don't need to remember all the words. You can make the micromanager joke if you want to. I think that would be like a fun thing if it was the right kind of vibe. You could be like, oh, is this the part where I tell you I'm not a micromanager? Like you could make that joke. That might be kind of funny if that's your style. But you need to back that up with like a real actual answer. It's not going to be good enough.
Yes. Also give examples. So you need to describe it, your approach, how you lead your team, and give an example. So, for example, we're working on this big project and I've just totally let my team do it. I'm here if they need, but I trust them if that is true.
And I might even suggest maybe tailoring those stories that you're choosing based on what you already know about the team. I was just thinking about how I might answer this question. And there's plenty of things you could say about here's how I approach this, here's how I approach that. It depends on the situation, right? It depends on who I was leading and what was going on. Like I could be absolutely a micromanager if I was dealing with an underperformer and I had to look at performance managing them. But then in different contexts, there is a lot of freedom. So you might want to tailor what you're talking about or the examples that you're giving depending on what you know about the situation. Are you coming in leading a team that has been a bit underperforming? Or maybe you might want to talk about how you set KPIs and set goals and have regular one-on-ones and give some structure. Or maybe it's a team that's really accomplished and doing really well. And then you're talking about how you develop people and how you help them champion their ideas or something like that.
So here are some ideas for how to describe your style. You will need to think about it, do some brainstorming. It might be hard to come up with this.
I think people sometimes with these questions, they're like, oh, I don't know. And you're like, well, have you thought about it? And they're like, no, I've spent literally 0 minutes thinking about it.
I'm so guilty of that. I said that to my colleague yesterday. I was trying to write a story. And from the get-go, sometimes you don't like a story. You're not fucking with it. You're like, oh, this is going to be so annoying to try and it's the thinking associated with what's my opening line? What's the angle? How do I write this? She's like, oh, do you need some help? I was like, no, I haven't tried, but I just... I just can't do it. It's hard, but I literally had not.
I love saying this because I see this all the time in different situations. People are basically saying, well, I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas.
Yes. I do it sometimes with, I can't get to sleep. Like, oh, I can't get to sleep, but I haven't even tried. Like, I'm just kind of on my phone and I've shut my eyes for 1 second and then you toss and turn and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God, how about you properly try and go to bed and give it some time? Then you can say you can't fall asleep.
That's so true. I can't think of anything. Have you even tried? So after this episode, you've got some fresh ideas swirling around. You're going to have to pause it and actually do some thinking. Reflect on your team, think about them, look back on stuff that you've achieved, look at your resume if that helps. Like think about your management style. But we're here to get the inspiration flowing. Now, we're going to go through some different management styles. I don't by any means think that this is an exhaustive list. Like I haven't combed the internet to get every single one. If you want to do that, by all means, go ahead. You do not have to use these words. And in fact, I would suggest that it's probably maybe a bit weird to use these words that define the different management styles because probably nobody knows what you're talking about. Just describe them. But this will help you start thinking.
So first, we have coaching management. So this is when managers typically are really motivating. They want their employees to have a mutual understanding of company achievements. They can teach people new job-specific skills that they can use when approaching specific projects and challenges. So I feel like this is a leader, a guider.
Skill development, yeah, and like giving people feedback. I mean, at its worst, this can be the type of manager you're like, hey, what do I do here? And they're like, what do you think you should do here? And you're like, screw you, I've actually tried this and I need your help.
Me in year 8 maths when I have no idea and they're like, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, exactly. But coaching managers can also at their best be really excellent and very helpful at giving you feedback instead of like taking something off you and rescuing you and like doing it for you kind of thing. They're going to help guide you through each thing and always looking for development areas, stuff like that. So I think starting off very strong. You might have done something like that. You might think of some examples where you've developed someone or you helped teach someone something in particular in your team. You left them better than you found them. All of those would be really great examples.
We have democratic management when you prioritize collaboration and place value on input from everyone. This sounds nice. This sounds harmonious. Everyone's opinions are valued.
You might be in an environment where you're trying to get people on board. Maybe there's a lot of change happening or something like that. So you started doing all team meetings or something like that. That might be some examples that you might think of when it comes to how you've used this in practice. But yeah, getting people's inputs, doing one-on-ones with everyone, making sure everyone has a voice.
And affiliative management, this is when typically they put their team members' well-being first and encourage happiness in the workplace. So they care about emotional bonds, relationships, honesty when there's problems happening. They might also remove the strict rules that kind of get in the way of you doing your job. I love this. These are the people that would be like, take a mental health day. It's fine. Leave it with me. Like, go to the kids' assembly.
Yeah. Or they'd be like, why are we asking for medical certificates? If they're sick, they're sick. You know, like this kind of thing. Love that. Like all of that is really positive. But there's two ways that I kind of read this. I think at its worst, it's like, what are they doing? Like, are you actually achieving anything as a team, or are you just all being happy and lovey and like...
It's like those companies that have the insane HR. I've got a best friend who works at this company that has like some feel-good set up every day. Like, it's International Tea Day and we're trialing stations, blah, blah, blah. Then the next day it's International Massage Day and someone comes around and like all the things.
It's just enough. It's like we need to do our jobs.
Yeah, it's every single day. And I'm like, sometimes, yes, that's so nice. But also like, can we have some of that support in the actual work we're doing? Like, it's National Nutella Day. Come and have a crepe.
Yeah. And like, don't worry, like your deadlines are still unrealistic and you've got no support and there's not enough resources in your team, but like have a crepe. Like, I think people see through that a little bit more these days.
Although I am jealous, like, yes, a crepe would make my stressful day better. So bring it over.
I think it would, until nothing else changes except for the crepe. And then you'd be like, actually, I would swap the crepe for just like, you know, a little bit of help with my emails not being so many. But I think at its best, this is like you're actually building proper relationships with your team, and by like getting their trust as well. Maybe this could be, you know, some examples I'm imagining, like coming into a team that's already really high performing, but they are really siloed and they don't interact with other departments. And so you're actually winning them over, getting to know them personally, something like that. Like this would be a really good one if you were able to say like, hey, I still stay in touch with a lot of my ex-team members. Like they all really see me quite highly. Like that would be an example that would kind of fit into that category.
Interview Academy might be the perfect thing you're looking for. Interview Academy is a course Sarah has been working on after delivering hundreds of interview coaching sessions and getting incredible results.
But unfortunately, I'm only one gal living in an Aussie time zone who works a day job, and all of that mean I can't help everyone one-on-one, which drove me crazy.
So for over a year, Sarah's been working on turning all of those amazing lessons into an on-demand, step-by-step interview prep course. We hold your hand through the entire thing,
and you can do it at home in your own time and get instant access right now. Check it out at interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link is in the show notes.
Direct management, that's when you tell your team upfront exactly what you want and how you want it. All right, team, I need this on my desk by 5 p.m. tomorrow. I want you to work on this, you to handball this. Capiche?
Yeah. Capiche. I love that. Capiche.
I feel like that's from like Disney Channel when we were kids.
Do you feel like there's certain words like that that just used to pop up all the time in TV shows that you're like, I don't think I've ever heard that in my real life? Like quicksand is one of those things that falls in that category of like...
Yes.
Have you ever heard that outside of like a kid's TV show or a kid's movie or something?
And that felt like the biggest threat to my life as a kid, that one day I would encounter that.
And like you almost would see them running through the jungle and be like, oh, there's going to be quicksand. Like it's just so obvious. I don't even know. Like the only videos I've ever seen of real quicksand are where people like make it themselves at the beach.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the good part of direct management, like you don't have to say, hey, I'm only direct and this is the only skill I have. But you could also talk about like, hey, I'm the person who doesn't shy away from giving tough feedback, even when it's to someone who is maybe a bit of a difficult personality. I'll tackle the issue head on. I don't like to let things fester. I'm going to tell them exactly what I expect.
Which I would like that, because I've been in so many workplaces when there's that one problematic person that everyone's too scared to do anything about, and they're like, oh, but that's just that person. Like they've been here for 20 years, they're stuck in their ways. So like, no, bring in a manager who wants to have it an even playing field and be like, you're going to assimilate like the rest of everyone. I like that.
Exactly. So see, there's multiple sides to all these different styles. It's up to you and how you've kind of demonstrated these things. None of them are good or better or whatever than another. Like with everything we talk about, you need to be honest about what you actually do and how you actually approach things. If you're really direct and you try and pretend that you're the well-being person because you think that that's what they want you to say, what if they wanted someone direct? Like, you're going to miss out on the job. And then like, you're also probably not going to be very good at convincing them that you're the happy clappy person either. I think this is really key. Honestly, if I could wave a magic wand and have all of the managers that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis have one extra skill, it would be not being terrified of having a tough conversation, honestly. Because even though they work in a very, male-dominated kind of testosterone-fueled industry where people just blow up at each other and yell at each other all the time, like on site, that's kind of the culture. Still, they can't sit down and say like, hey, you're not meeting my expectations. Terrified. They're terrified.
That's funny, isn't it?
It is.
Also, there is laissez-faire management, which is laid back. That's the French word for laid back or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Don't do translations when you do. What's comme ci, comme ça? Is that also French or is that a different language again?
I don't know. Neither here nor there. It's like so.
Are you mixing languages?
I'm really worldly, basically.
We're interacting with our international audience. Like, we're very far away from everyone, but, we like to think we're well.
Do you know the only thing that I can say in another language, let me tell you, is Je m'appelle Emma. Mon anniversaire est le 20 juillet, which I think means my birthday's in July. But I don't know why I can say that. My birthday's in October.
Not in July.
And why, when they teach you new languages, do they teach you how to ask for the dumbest shit? It's never conversational. It's like, when would you ever go up to a stranger and say, hi, this is my birthday month? It's so weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I did a tiny little Italian course after uni and it was like in a postgrad setting, but the course was specifically for like Italian for traveling. So you didn't learn useless stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, where's the toilet? Can I have a coffee? Like,
yes. Una bottiglia di vino rosso.
Wow, get it.
That's one bottle of red wine. Io parlo italiano un po'. That means I speak a little bit of Italian, but I don't. That's the only sentence I know.
Italian and French people, please slide in and correct us. Okay, moving on. So yes, they laissez-faire. They're allowed to just, do their work how they think is best. They given a high level of trust and independence. The necessary resources are provided, but it's like, hey, I trust you. You're amazing. Go do it here if you need.
You got this. Yep. And there can be great things about that because when you're a high performer, you do want to be like, just get out of my way and let me look after it. Like, don't keep interfering and asking me stuff. Like, if I tell you I've got it. Like, let me do my thing. And so that can work really well in certain scenarios. And that might be a really great thing. Like, hey, I trust you over here to do this thing because I'm focusing on this trouble area or whatever. This might be really great if you're a higher level manager to talk about, because you're leading leaders, you might give them the trust to look after their department if you need. But at its worst, this can also look like your team don't know how to come to you to say that they need help. Because imagine I'm like, you're incredible. You're going to be all over this. You're going to be fine. Here, this is all yours. And you're like, I'm actually not all over it, but I don't really want to tell you because you think I'm all over it.
Yeah, like you can do that. You would have done this before. Yeah. It doesn't set it up for you to come and ask for help.
Yes, it can make it harder for people to kind of put their hand up. And I'm hoping all this like chit chat is making people think about what they do or what they don't do. That's what we're here for, really.
There is also relational management when you form strong connections and use them to inform your choices as a manager. So does that mean like the manager could be like, hey, after talking to you, I see that this is a really big problem. So how about we do it that way? Like, is that what this is?
Yeah. And I would say as well, you could talk about like, you manage people as individuals. You try and get to know the individual people that you're responsible for and what they care about, what motivates them, what they're good at, what they're bad at, so that you can make an appropriate choice for them and you can tailor your management style to the person. So someone might need the laissez-faire kind of the permission to do what they want, and then somebody else might need a little bit more direct management, and then somebody else might need something else. Like you could talk about adapting your style depending on the person based on you getting to know them and stuff. Like you, for example, might be more flexible with the person in your team who needs more flexibility, but you might be more structured and more hard on the person that really needs deadlines and thrives in that environment. You know what I mean?
For sure. And we also have transformational management, which is when you focus on the big ideas and you want your team to think of and try new innovative ways to get things done.
I feel like everyone who's been to like a one-day management or leadership course comes out being like, I'm a transformational leader. It's just one of those things that like, if anyone remembers something from their course, it's going to be that transformational leadership is the best one or something. I don't know who's out there teaching this stuff. I'm not sure.
I feel like this one kind of gives me an ick. It's kind of giving like youth pastor, like let's think big, like come on, like it's, I don't know.
And hey, this might be really relevant if you actually go about things this way. I just think the ick for me is like, the labels. I just find it really weird. If you're in an organization or you're in a culture that really loves the, hey, I'm a this type of manager label, go for it, use it, like do your own thing. But if you don't, I don't think you need to use the words. I think it's really odd. And some people say, oh, I'm this. And what they actually mean when they explain it is not that. So you need to back it up with why and what you actually do and how you go about things and what your thinking behind it is, because all of that is more important than the label. But yeah, and like you can get in, that reminded me as well of like the leader versus manager thing. Oh, I'm not a manager, I'm a leader. I like to do these things. You could use it as an in to talk about that as well. Like, what's your philosophy on leadership versus management, blah, blah, blah. It's all an opportunity for you to talk about your approach, what you think, what you believe, and what you do.
Lastly, we have transactional management when a leader uses punishments and rewards to motivate their team. Jeez, naughty corner for you and pocket money for you. That's insane.
This one's going to be hard for me to make a good thing out of. I don't think you would ever be like, I'm a transactional leader. That would be, or I'm a transactional manager. That would be wild. But you could definitely talk about like, hey, let's imagine you were managing a team that had really clear kind of outputs or KPIs or sales or whatever, like something that you did have to manage and you did need to change the settings of motivation and consequence or something like that. You had to be like, well, I made it so that this person didn't have to work on the late shift if they got this many results or whatever. And so that made people want to compete for that. And I don't know.
Yeah. Or this big client's up for grabs and because you performed the best last month, I'm giving it to you, which makes your next month's budget easier to make.
I've heard of people like rotating the best car park in the in amongst the team and stuff. Like whatever. I think I would probably use those things to talk about how you made something fun and a bit lighthearted and like not take it too seriously, to be like, hey, I know we're doing this boring thing, but how do we make this enjoyable?
Yeah. If you say to me in an interview that you use punishments and rewards to motivate, I'm running for the hills, just saying.
Yeah, don't use that word. But I would talk about, I reckon for me, I like to turn things into a game. If I think they're really boring, I'm going to be like, how do we make this fun? How do we get this done in the least painful way possible? So there's been times where we've had to do like data entry tasks or like open everyone's contract and get information from it and put it into a spreadsheet. And it's like, we've got 170 people. Like it's a lot of contracts to read. If you gave it to one person, they'd be there all day. So we were like, right, let's do a list of all the people, divvy them up between 3 or 4 of us in the team, and we're going to do a race. And the person who gets the most at the end of the timer going off, like the rest have to buy them coffee or like something like that, that you bet something on it. And it makes it fun. And then you sit there for 15 minutes and then suddenly you've done the whole thing together and it was actually kind of enjoyable. How good's that?
Hack. So they're all the main styles. As we said, they're loose categories. There's lots of places in between.
Not an exhaustive list. I'm sure there's like authoritarian, authoritative, like there's stuff that I've heard of that I didn't put in this list, but go Google them if you want more ideas. This episode is all about opening your mind to how you might be answering this question, giving you a bit of ideas of like, here's some ways, here's some examples, here's some things that you might like to mention when it comes to this question. Or even, like we said at the beginning, maybe explaining how you like to be managed, what motivates you the most.
I think this will be good for people who've left a job because of a manager. And we always say, make sure you're being critical, you're auditing your situation before you go for jobs to find out what was it that I didn't like. This might be helpful. You might have listened to direct management and went, oh, that's what he was. I hated it. I really want relational management.
It was too fluffy and they didn't deal with the actual issues. And it was too much like, oh, we can go for team drinks, but they're not addressing any of the actual problems. And so I reckon you could spin this into a question at the end of your interview. So saying something like, I've worked in environments before where everyone gets along really well and we all have good relationships, but issues aren't actually addressed because people are too scared to talk about them. Can you tell me about your management style and how you approach things when someone comes to you with a problem? Or there's an issue that needs to be addressed. How do you approach it? Like you could kind of say, here's something that I've experienced what's your approach to stuff like that? And imagine hearing someone address that question if that was something that you really cared about. They'd be like, oh, I deal with things head on. Like, I'm not afraid to sit someone down and talk to them. And someone might be put off by that, but someone else might be like, thank God you're going to actually call me out or someone else out if they're doing something wrong.
Perfect. Well, enjoy. Happy management style considering.
Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing the sound of our voices, follow us on Apple or Spotify, or better yet, tell everyone you know about this incredible podcast. That's how we can hit the charts and we can help even more people. For more advice and not a lot of posting, but if you go and follow us, we might get a bit of motivation to keep posting. Check us out on Instagram @InterviewBoss.
We've been your job search besties and helped you in some way. There's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.